Hi everyone, Adrian Groenewald, Me Vision Academy, and here I am, the blessing of speaking to someone about purpose-driven leadership or just a purpose-driven life and the importance of purpose. We are going out there and mobilizing individuals who have discovered their purpose and just having conversations with them to uncover the power of this concept of finding your purpose or uncovering your purpose and the difference it makes. That is truly what we do. We want individuals to discover their purpose or uncover their purpose and then live it, or said another way, lead with it and prosper. For us, that's important. And the word prosper, it's got many dimensions. With me today is Andreas Schaal. He's the COO of Arbinger Institute. They're doing great work there to help leaders discover their purpose, I would say, but also be authentic and true to themselves and listen to that inner voice, if I can call it that. Andreas, so good to have you with us.
It's my pleasure, Adrian. Good to be with you.
I kick off with the same question: is why is purpose so important in general for individuals and organizations, obviously?
Sure. Yeah, it's I guess, I've heard some other people talk about this, and I guess when you do some research around it, there's many different answers and many different aspects. But for me, it's almost what's the word? It's essential. It's almost the foundation. It's the why. I guess it's the sense of meaning in life. It's almost like we have this belonging to something bigger than ourselves. And if you think about it in a workplace, right? It's almost like you align around a common goal that helps you establish and foster a culture that you form part of, right? So I guess it's everything. It's like you're building a house and you need a foundation for that house to stand on it. And if the foundation is weak, then the house is not really gonna stay up for very long. So I guess that's what purpose means, and that's why it's important for me.
Yeah, I mean, you've used some strong words. It's everything. A foundation is everything. The sad thing about a foundation is we can take it for granted so easily. You don't think every day that you sleep and live in that house that you need to discover the power of your foundation. It's just it just happens. And I think in many cases people do live with some kind of purpose. I mean, you won't get up if you didn't have a purpose, but it's not that foundational purpose necessarily. It's not why I'm on this planet. So I do like this question because I have my own views. Do you think if someone is just going about being an engineer or a teacher or, shall we say, functioning technically, not in a formal leadership position, and one day they have this aha moment, maybe intentionally or accidentally, of discovering their purpose, do you think that turns them into a leader or turns them in the direction of being a leader?
So I think, look, having functional skills, right, and being able to I guess have the capability to do something, right, that's important. But I think if let's call it that aha moment, right, when I discover that aha moment of my purpose, I think in a way it's in a way it opens your eyes. I think you discover something that you maybe didn't discover about yourself before. And you asked about leadership, and I guess, we would probably have to ask, what does it mean to be a leader, right? And I guess we have all leadership in some shape or form in us, right? Whether we are, a family member, whether we are a husband, a wife, a partner, there's almost something in terms of leadership in us. So I guess to answer your question a long way around, Adrian, is if I would discover, if I'm a technical guy, an engineer, as you mentioned, and I suddenly discover what my real purpose is, I think it's probably in a way to see truthfully for the first time, because it will give you perspective and saying, this is the reason I've been given this gift to be in this world. Because being alive is a gift for me, right? We don't treat it often as a gift. We just take it for granted, as you said, right? We just live in a house and we think this foundation, well, it's great. I'm there and I take it for granted. But I think if I truly discover my purpose and I truly recognize what is this gift that I've been given to be on this planet, and what can I give back to others, I think that for me would probably invite you to be true to yourself and to others, and probably will invite you to lead with purpose.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that if I'm in a leadership position, because technically I was a great accountant and I then added an MBA, and because I'm so good as an accountant, they make me a supervisor, manager, general manager. A lot of people climb this ladder of leadership or management without discovering their true purpose necessarily. But if I'm then in a leadership position and I then discover my purpose, I've seen it over and over. It totally changes that person's energy, their outlook in life, their impact on others. It rubs off. So there's no doubt that discovering your true purpose authentically makes you a better, more authentic, genuine leader. And I think we'll agree on that one, unless you want to say something specific.
Definitely.
I know you've discovered your purpose, and I'm excited to hear, what is it? How did you discover it though? Was it intentional or accidental, or did you have an epiphany, a near-death experience, or what happened?
It was not as dramatic, but I guess I've always felt comfortable being around people. I'm a very sociable person in my private life. I'm fun to be around with. I have a large circle of friends, and I enjoy doing things with others. So, and I worked in hospitality for many years initially. I had my own cocktail bar and had DJs and bands playing in there, and I really enjoyed creating fun and being around something. It's something that's energized me a lot. But it wasn't until my early career in the corporate sector that I think I actually discovered my true purpose. And the interesting part was in the previous organization that I was working in for just over 10 years, at some point I received some really harsh feedback about my leadership style. And, it was harsh, and I also, I'm leading actually, and everything I was doing was right. But I had a problem. And the bigger problem, Adrian, was that I could not see that I had a problem.
Yeah.
Working for the Arbinger Institute, we obviously have something called self-deception. And I was trapped in that self-deception. In other words, I had this problem of not knowing that I have this problem. And if I recall back that moment, which was in the early 2000s, I was operating what we call an inward or a self-focused mindset. And I realized, or at that point, I didn't realize it, right? People around me actually didn't matter as I matter. Everything I was doing was about me, right? So I was doing what the leadership actually of that company was expecting from me, right? I was focused on my goals, my results, my performance, and I thought I was doing the right thing. When I was, in a way, I guess, and that feedback was that I was telling others what to do. I was correcting them. I was constantly dealing with things going wrong. And the way I saw people at that point was simply as a means to an end, right? So my team was just there for me to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And when they didn't do it, then obviously they were to blame, right? And then obviously there were some people also that didn't matter to me at all. They were actually just completely irrelevant. And I remember when I got that harsh feedback, my wife actually said something to me because I was quite distraught. And I thought to myself, I'm going to exit this company because, this is not a place, they don't appreciate me. And all these kind of thoughts went through my head. And my wife said to me, Andreas, when people give you that feedback, surely they actually care about you. They've taken the time to provide you with this feedback, right? They want you to be a better leader. And when I thought about it, that I've not been accountable to my team, to my boss, and everybody else I was working with, that I actually didn't really see them as people at all, something changed for me. In fact, I realized at that moment, Adrian, that I fundamentally misunderstood throughout my career what it means to have a job as a professional. In fact, that to have a job and to do it well means that I got to do it in a way that makes it easier for others to achieve their objectives, right? And I hadn't realized that at all. So for me, I think that was my moment where I discovered my purpose, that it is about seeing myself and others in relation truthfully as people who matter as I matter. And that actually I need to hold myself accountable for my impact on others. So I think that's a mouthful, but
is that your
that
purpose?
moment,
So is that your
that's not my purpose. My purpose in a way is and it's been since that moment, I've been striving to really make that purpose more real. So my purpose here, if I would give it to you, is that I want to introduce people, especially in South Africa, because that's the market I'm working in, to the power of what it means to see people as people, to shift of seeing beyond ourselves and starting to be alive to our impact on others. In summary, maybe I could say it in this way: to bring humanity to the workplace, our families, and our communities, because that's what I experience. And that's what I'm striving to do. And I would like to give that to everyone that I have in this time that I'm on this planet.
So I can sense it made a big 180-degree difference in your life when that epiphany happened and when you started exploring more consciously your purpose and the impact on people around you and your family and everyone. Just try and explain how pivotal it was, what a difference it did make in your life and maybe the people around you.
Sure. If you would ask my wife at that time what type of person I was, she would probably describe me in a way as, very defensive, arrogant, just does whatever he wanted to do. And that was the reality, right? I didn't listen to feedback. I wasn't really alive to the impact that I was having on others. So, if you ask me how pivotal it was, I think it was life-changing, Adrian. It completely revolutionized the way I understood my role in life, both at home and at work. I started to, and I recognize, and I remember also, when my son was much younger and I was spending a lot of time traveling. And, I wasn't really alive to him at all. It was just, and to my family and to the people at work. So I guess what I started to realize is my job is to actually be around with people and to understand what people are trying to achieve. So I often use this analogy in my work. It's take an onion, right? And if we really truthfully want to see each other, if I want to understand who Adrian is or anybody else, I got to peel the layers of the onion, right? To really be curious, to really see that the only reality is that you and I are both people and we equally as important. And that was for me foundational. It changed everything for me. That's why I say it was life-changing. It propelled me on this journey. And I want to give you two books that actually helped me there. The one is from the Arbinger Institute, Leadership and Self-Deception, right? And I was trapped in that concept of self-deception. And I recognized there's so many examples I could tell you, probably would spend more than an hour talking about this. The other book was from Michael A. Singer, The Untethered Soul, which also spoke about, happiness is a choice. I'm either happy or I'm not, right? I don't have to have things or do things in order to be happy. I made the choice at that moment in my life that I'm going to be happy, irrespective if I have financial success or, whatever's happening, because in my heart, I'm a happy person. And life for me is a gift, as I mentioned earlier. So does it mean I'm perfect? Far from it. Does it mean that I don't make mistakes? Definitely not, right? I make mistakes. But for me, since then, Adrian, it's been a journey of striving to give others around me a better version of myself, right? To have a better impact. And that's the kind of gift I want to give others, because the best way I can help others is by leading by my own example, right? And when I make mistakes, I hold myself accountable, whether that's towards my son, my daughter, my wife, my colleagues, my clients. I think that for me is essential. And I guess that's the pivotal moment that changed everything for me.
Andreas, before we finish with the question of a tip you can give people to discover their purpose or uncover their purpose, I want you just for a minute, and I know it's unfair, but lead with your purpose. So my question to you is, what have you discovered are one or two or three key things that stop individuals from realizing that I'm a people, I'm a human like you are, and we truly are equally important. Is it position? Is it status? Is it upbringing? I mean, there's so much that can block me from realizing that I'm actually not truly believing that this junior floor sweeper or tea girl is as important as I am. What stops me from, I might think I'm doing it, I greet them, whatever, but I don't unpeel people's onion to discover who they really are. I don't do it. I just work forward. I'm friendly, maybe, I'm fairly kind. What would you say one or two biggest blockages that stop people from getting to that place where you want to lead them, part of your purpose?
Sure. I love that question, Adrian. Look, I want to give you a concept here to think about, right? Which is that whatever we do in life, right, is our behaviors, right? How we show up, how we act, how we go about achieving our objectives. These are all behaviors. But we know in a way that there's something deeper that underpins our behaviors. We know it. We know it's there. It's almost like it's attached with an invisible cord. We can't really put our finger on it. And in our company, what we say is that deeper thing that's there, that sits there, is actually our mindset. It's how we see. It's how we regard the world, how we see opportunities, how we see challenges, how we see ideas, and importantly, how we see people. So, for me, the tip is we go about our life doing things, right? So, and generally, there's two mindsets that play at any given moment, right? I can either operate with a self-focused inward mindset, and that means I just see others as objects, right? They're either a purpose for me, or they're in my way as an obstacle, or they're just completely irrelevant, right? And I have many examples. I can see someone that sweeps the floor. That's their job, but they don't matter at all to me, right? Because they're irrelevant to me. They're just an object. The other mindset that we operate is something that takes people into account, right? We call it the outward mindset that sees people as people who matter. And I guess the tip is we need to discover which mindset we are operating with in any moment and situation. And when that hits us, whenever we go through that, we will know what we need to do differently, right? To be more curious. But if I'm not discovering that mindset, if I don't really understand what mindset I'm operating with, then I will continue to be blind, like I was, right? I was blind for so many years. And often I hear also my clients say to me, Andreas, where have you been the last 25 years of my career? Why am I only being introduced into this now? And I always say to them, it doesn't really matter. Whenever this material, whenever that comes to us, we can still change, right? We can change what's going within us in order to change what's going on around us. So that would be my tip. Discover your mindset. And then there's many things, right, that we certainly from our company can help clients in doing that. But for me, that was the moment where I said, wow, okay, maybe I haven't been the person that I actually wanted to be. Does that make sense, Irene?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe the tip helps with this anyway. Just a final tip on how to discover your purpose. What would you say to people if you're interested in uncovering your purpose? What would you say they need to do?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question to ponder. Here's what I would give. I would invite people to ponder the following three questions. Am I willing and able to lead by example? Am I willing and able to consider how I might be part of the problem? And am I curious enough to understand how I impact others? I would invite people to ponder those questions and really start to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I really having a positive impact, or are there opportunities? So because purpose is something that each of us probably is on an individual journey. So maybe that's a helpful tip. And if they really want to read some books that are really helpful in that regard, I mentioned two titles before, that may be a good journey in maybe discovering something, but there's a host of other things that could help too, right? And then lastly, Adrian, I would say is just to say, look, again, and I repeat myself here, but we're on this planet for a reason. Each one of us, we've been given this opportunity. Treat life as a gift. It's a discovery process. Find out, ask other people, be curious around your impact, right? Sometimes I invite clients to ask the following question to people at home or at work. What is it like to live with me when I'm not at my best? Or what is it like to work with me when I'm at my worst, right? And based on that feedback, you can actually start to think, am I having the desired impact? And maybe that gives you some form of thought to see, what's my purpose? Hopefully that helps.
Absolutely. Andreas Schaal, thank you so much, Chief Operating Officer of Arbinger Institute, for being open and frank and vulnerable, sharing your own experience. I think that's exactly what we need to hear, to realize, well, one can be open about your weaknesses in the past and what you've learned and so on.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. Thank you for discovering your purpose and making a difference in other people's lives. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Adrian. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share some thoughts.
Bye-bye.